Good evening and welcome to the August 15th, 2018 regularly scheduled East Long Meadow Board of Library Trustees meeting. I am calling the meeting to order right now. It is approximately 6:10 p.m. I'm going to start once again on my left, and if the roll call could start with Melanie, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, Melanie Manheim.
Michael Gray.
Virginia Robbins.
Diane Tiago.
David Boucher.
Layla Johnston.
This meeting is both being audio and videotaped for future broadcast on LCAT, and we are going to start our first order of business at this point in time, which is the minutes of the July 18th meeting. Did everybody have an opportunity to take a look at the minutes? Is there any questions, comments, concerns?
Sure, thank you.
Can I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the July 18th, 2018 meeting minutes.
And do I have a second?
I will second.
Is there any additional or further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Okay. The next item is guest opportunity to address the board. We do not have any guests in this room at this time. So we'll move on to the director's report. And I just wanted to make one comment. In the director's report that you have in front of you, there's a couple of items that's included that will be a part of our new business a little bit later tonight. So if you would hold your questions and your comments for that point in time so that Layla can give her report at this point in time. So Layla, it's all yours.
Thank you. So under public services, I included a draft bulletin board policy in your packets. I also included 3 example drafts from other Massachusetts libraries. We've had some confusion or just some general, we need a more clear and more thorough policy. Right now we currently just use guidelines. As an example, according to our current guidelines, we would not post the fundraising event for the high school's educational foundation because it is ticketed. But some feel we should be supporting the mission of the foundation. So if we had a more thorough policy, that would be helpful for me and for staff to determine what can and cannot be posted on our public bulletin boards. Summer reading was a great success. Once again, I want to thank the creativity and hard work of the staff. We had 133 teens, which I would like to point out is a huge upswing. 1,189 children and 27 adults participating in this year's program, Libraries Rock. We then had 209 summer reading participants attend the skating party held at Interskate 91. For reports, the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners opened the financial reporting module required for our annual application for state aid to public libraries earlier this month. I will attend a workshop about the new application requirements in September. And our strategic plan goals update. This is the first year of our action plan. In our first year action plan, I noted working toward the following goals with the cooperation of the Board of Library Trustees and the town manager. Increased cooperation with other town departments, expanding summer hours of operation to include Saturday services, and investigating hiring a teen librarian. I am pleased to report we have made significant progress toward achieving 2 of the 3 goals. Our summer hours now include Saturday service year-round, and I've included here some examples of just our ongoing increased cooperation with other town departments. We worked more collaboratively with Parks and Recreation with outdoor movie nights. Unfortunately, we were rained out for 3 out of 4 of the movie nights, but the 4th one we were able to participate, weather permitted us. All of the hiring for the library is done with the cooperation of the Human Resources Department, which is a major change and a huge help. Now that we do have this new form of town government, it's very important that we are complying with various labor laws, and she has been a great resource for us. The library is hosting early voting in the community room in October at the request of the town clerk's office. Previously, all early voting was held in the Board of Selectmen's conference room. Well, because of the remodeling and the change in town government, that room no longer exists. So we, as being good neighbors and good partners, offered to host early voting in our community room here. Adult Services Librarian Lindsay Neffinger regularly participates in informational events at the Council on Aging. And we are working closely with LCAT on a new partnership related to video production. And another example that did not make it into my report this time was we worked with the health department closely in a tick awareness documentary showing, and also a question and answer session. Massachusetts has one of the highest rates of Lyme disease in the nation. So the more information and awareness we can get out there about prevention of tick bites, the healthier our community will be. And unfortunately, I did request that we add a part-time teen services position during our budget process, and that was denied by town council. But that's just part of the process. Often you don't get everything the first year. And these goals provide benchmarks for us to work toward. There's nothing stringent about them. So if you have any questions, we can talk about that later during the new business section. And for the financial report, I included an abbreviated financial report in your packets. Again, we're right on track with where we should be with spending for this point in the fiscal year. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate.
Does anyone have any questions for Layla, whether it is for the financial report or for her written report?
Do you want me to hold till later, or can I ask now
For the
for the first report?
Oh, the director's report?
if it's for bulletin board or the strategic plan, we can wait till new business.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask about our second attempt at the fines-free.
Yes. And in fact, when we were going to talk about it under old business.
Oh, okay. Let it go then.
Since you asked, though, I can let you know there has been a little bit more confusion now. People are expecting every Friday to be fine-free, and now are threatening to withhold their materials until they have not followed through on that. But I was going to recommend that we kind of table the experiment for now.
Okay.
You know, we gave it our best shot, and it's actually providing more confusion than positive customer service experiences at this time. So we can, if you want to discuss
something they're
further,
not
we
used
can.
to,
Right.
because this is something new, so that's to be expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one last one. I can't believe how fast August has gone. And last week was National Night Out, which was
Yes.
the entire town. And I know that the weather kind of came in and changed things abruptly, but can you give us a little information as to?
Yep, we did participate. We were there along with, maybe 16 other town departments. We had a table set up and bags that were provided by the Friends that were stuffed with brochures and informational material about how to get a library card, how to join the Friends, a newsletter promoting our programs, etc. We did get rained out in that it did have to end a little bit early, but everybody had a great time. The fire department had their new ladder truck out. There were drone footage taken. So Don with LCAT is putting together something now. He may or may not have it ready yet.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Except for the rain part at the end.
I know. Expect the unexpected. So does anybody have any other comment for Layla at this point in time? We'll get back to those other items a little bit later in our agenda. So can I have motion to accept the director's narrative written report at this time.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the director's narrative report at this time.
Okay, and do I have a second?
I can second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. All right. So, next item is new business, and it happens to be the bulletin board policy that was written in Layla's report. So, I guess I'm going to let
Sure.
you
So
take
I did
the
bring
floor.
some examples. At the very beginning of the draft, I included our current guidelines so that you could see exactly what I was referring to as far as how we currently determine what will or will not be posted. I brought some examples of items that could be posted because they do support either a local nonprofit or an educational mission of the schools or something like this. And it gets into, so this is one example. This is the Norcross House asked if they could post for vendors for a fundraiser for them. It is a ticketed event. However, Norcross House is very important for the historical memory of the town. We support the historical commission, et cetera, et cetera. People will often just put their own private commercial services for sale on the bulletin boards. So we're often going through and just taking those things down. That's another example of something that people will put up on their own and we go through and take it down. Here's another one that, you kind of have to. So this is Long Meadow's Summer Enrichment Program. Tickets were only $5. A lot of East Long Meadow residents participate. A lot of the youth in East Long Meadow participate in Long Meadow's enrichment. According to our current policy, though, because it's ticketed, we wouldn't post anything supporting that. Just so you have an idea of, these are things that we did post. This was a program at another library, and that was the flyer promoting National Night Out that Diane referred to. And so in the draft, I did include at the back of your packets 3 other examples. One from Forbes in Northampton, Cary Memorial in Lexington, and the Wilmington Memorial Library in Wilmington, Mass. I thought that the Wilmington policy was very well written and covers a lot of these questions about, what do we do about an educational foundation, or, it's a school play that's $5, or, so I thought that their guidelines were very clear and would serve as a good starting place for our draft. Yeah, and we also have the, not just the bulletin boards, but the literature racks
Right.
that are mounted along the bulletin boards, and those sometimes too, people will try to place their own. If they're selling, there's a local person who sells clothing that is constantly putting her brochures in the racks, and then we have to remove them because we don't support individuals selling items.
Yeah.
But so if we had something very clear, and we could post it up there as well, and just be helpful.
I like the setup for the Wilmington libraries.
Mm-hmm.
I do. And I'm a big supporter of those bullets because I think that it draws your eyes to.
It's organized. It's easy on the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is what we'll do. This is what we will accept. This is what we will not accept. I liked the way they had it set up, and did everybody have an opportunity to look through it, or all 3 of them? I thought all 3 were very good. However, this one really jumped out at me.
Yeah, I did, under posting guidelines, which is on the reverse here, Wilmington says postings without a specific date may be removed after 30 days if space is needed. I would eliminate that after 30 days. I would just, because the boards are in such demand, we do need to make sure we keep the flyers on them up to date and fresh.
Yep.
people have brought us posters before. You wouldn't believe the size of some of the things.
really?
Oh yes, huge posters for plays or musicals. Some taking place in Connecticut.
And where would they put them?
Oh, they get
On the-
upset because
on the
they want
bulletin
to put them on the bulletin board and they
Wow.
want them to be up advertising, their musical in Connecticut, and we have to explain. I'm sorry, this is not
Yeah.
does not meet our guidelines.
Excuse me. Michael, do you have a question that you'd like to ask Layla about our library?
Sure. I mean, I'm kind of writing down a list of things. We're a new business. Is this the appropriate time or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, my first question is, we have a draft. You've done a draft of this policy. Is this something that you will write and then we'll approve it, or will we write it together, or how does that work? How's that?
Generally, I create it, and then the trustees weigh in with any edits or recommendations for changes based on other policies that they've read, and based also on our current, for example, in line with our meeting room policy, we don't allow personal sales. You couldn't go in and set up with your Amway and have a sales event. So our bulletin board guidelines would follow in those same veins and not allow people to post up for their individual services for sale. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll kind of work through it together, and then I'll probably work up another draft, bring it to the next meeting, and then at that time you would either approve it or revise it or et cetera.
Okay.
Layla, the bulletin boards that are in the foyer, is this what we're referring to?
Yes.
Or,
Yes.
okay,
The two that are in the entryways.
Okay.
Yeah, this one and this one.
Okay.
And then the racks that are right underneath them.
okay, all right. We don't have any other bulletin boards anywhere else in the building.
That's what I was
Not
trying to
for,
think.
not for, we do have one in children's that's
Yeah.
used for big special events, or last year they had a map up because it was related to the summer reading theme.
Sure,
But, and they do post flyers in there occasionally, but they're all approved by the children's librarian.
sure,
They're not on an actual board, so.
right. Okay,
If somebody comes in and just uses their own tax and puts their own notice up, is somebody in charge of taking it down?
Yeah, we both my administrative assistant, her name is Carol, and I monitor them at least once a day.
Okay. All right, the next thing is early voting in the community room. Is that all library hours, or is it just part of the hours? A certain 2 hours a day or something?
No, that would be for the duration of, it's from 8 a.m. until either 5 p.m., depending on when we're open, or it's the full time that we're open.
Okay. All right. Then on here you say you're working closely with LCAT on a new partnership. What does that mean?
He does not want me to publicly talk about that yet. Yeah, we're not ready yet to discuss that.
All right. So then I also noticed some things going around like the Norcross house and the Arbor kids. But I just looked at them quickly. But if you just walk by and you see these, I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't know anything about the Norcross house and the Arbor kids, and I'll learn now tonight. But it doesn't help to put an ad up if it doesn't sort of motivate you or pique your interest. It assumes you know what it is, and if you don't, you're probably not going to go to it. So I just want to throw out, because I sort of did things like this in my career, that some of these things could be done better to motivate people to participate. I don't know what you guys, there's nothing you guys can say because people just give them to you, but it'd be better if the message was more effective.
well, I'm gonna chime in. I feel that that's the individual organization to determine how they want to get the word out there.
And what works for them.
And what works for them.
Right.
And
I
so
agree.
whatever flyer they want to put up on the bulletin board.
And then whether or not we approve it.
It would just be nice,
following
even
the
if it was an
guidelines.
index card. Somebody put something up there, it's just like tell people what this is, or have it just a little thing that's tacked with it that says, what is the Norcross House? I mean, why would I want to go there? Or why would I want to raise money for the Arbor kids? Arbor means trees, right? What is that? Are they planting trees? I mean, what is it? That's all. I'm just sorry, but I want to participate more in these discussions.
When you pass by the bulletin boards on both sides here of the library, if you have any questions, I think a lot of people, I know I have in the past, just called the number or the information that is on it. A lot of times, I mean, the Arbor's kids, if I can have this, I know
Please do.
I see a phone number on the bottom. You know, I don't see an email address, but there is a contact's name and a phone number. So I think if we had questions about that, it would be a good idea for us to individually call them and just say, hey, you know, what are you all about? What do you do? You know, just to get more communication going. But I think it's important that if they do have a flyer, they should leave their contact information.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and she
you know, and
has
she did.
hers,
Sure, her name and her phone number.
Yeah, my only comment is, if I could read the ad and go, oh, and know what it is, just a couple lines, and go, that sounds interesting, I want to support that, or I want to go there and find out about it, or whatever, that would be more effective, but, you know.
Now, before they put it up on the bulletin board, you know, are they supposed to go through and
Yes.
but are they supposed to go through the circulation desk and then you
Right.
actually?
So what generally happens is that, you know, a person will come in and say, I would like to post this on your, well, if they ask.
Right.
Yes. No, that's what I'm. Yeah.
And say, I'd like to post this on the board, and the staff will say, okay, you know, all of our postings are reviewed by the library director.
Yeah.
Sometimes for the ones that I can tell did have a higher production cost, like those posters that I was describing,
Yeah.
I will call the individual, or someone that works here will call the individual and say, I'm sorry, this doesn't meet our guidelines. If you would like to come back and pick it up,
Yeah.
it will be kept until such and such date.
I see.
But other times they're not concerned. It's just a sheet of paper like this.
And there's only one. There wasn't 20.
Yeah. And then, so I review it, decide if it meets our guidelines, and then staff will post it or not. But that's why, you know, a couple of staff members were like, well, why can't we post the educational related programs, even though they are ticketed, because it is still supporting the educational mission for the schools and for us. And so I said, you know what, we need a more thorough policy, and we'll bring it to the board and we'll discuss.
Yeah.
And that was, Wilmington's does have examples that, you know, educational or recreational activities can be posted, and where they really say don't do this is for the more commercial solicitations and sales and things like that.
Yeah.
Walkathons. But, you know, for example, for them, and we may choose not to do this, advertising, educational lessons, and instruction are permitted, even though you generally charge a fee for those things. So we may decide that we don't want to post, because that would still be considered a fee for service, but
Like a
their
guitar
board
lesson
decided that
or
they
a
did.
Piano lesson.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Melanie, I didn't hear.
Oh, I said this, for an example, it would be guitar lessons or
Oh.
piano lessons.
Yeah.
Okay.
But a tutor, if somebody was tutoring somebody in math or what have you,
Reading.
and wanted to use one of the rooms or something.
Well, the rooms are available first come, first served, and they're available for tutors, but they cannot be reserved for them.
Okay.
And if there is someone waiting, then you're limited to an hour.
Right.
And they have to stop at the information desk and sign up.
Right. I've used the room before to study. It was good. It was
They're in very
it's
high
a nice
demand.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, very good.
Any other questions or comments, or what road do we want to go down? Should we have Layla produce a draft similar to?
Yes, yeah.
Of these three examples, I really like the Wilmington.
Yeah,
I do like the bullet points. I think this one was too general
Didn't
up on top, and then down here. It's just too much reading. It wasn't easy on the eye. I think this would be easier for people to follow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just check off what they have. This one hardly had any.
So I'll produce a draft, like you said.
Okay.
And right now, I guess I would want a little bit more feedback from all of you. What are your thoughts then about posting things like the East Long Meadow High School Educational Foundation fundraiser?
ELEF.
That was another request that we
Yeah.
received. Or the Summer Enrichment Theater. Do you want us to be able to post those? Would you rather that we not?
Would it just be things that happen in our community?
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that idea. To extend it, I don't know, that would be,
Can the bulletin board space be labeled, or like this side's for fundraisers and this side's for opportunities?
Well, we wouldn't be doing any fundraising for the most part. But I don't know how we would do that space-wise, because sometimes we have a lot of town announcements or a lot of library programs are going on, and much more limited space for community postings. But if we had, the more clear policy, we could put that right up there, and that helps too. If people can see right when they look at it, like, oh, I guess I can't put my tag sale advertisement on there.
right?
Could always have a sandwich board.
I'm sorry?
Could always have a sandwich board outside. Being facetious.
I'm sure some people would like that. But we don't have to decide anything tonight. This is just to get the ball
Yeah.
rolling, and just some things to think about that we can review and discuss further at the next meeting as well.
I'm just gonna suggest if anybody has time to just go on another library site, see if they have a policy for their bulletin board, see what they toss into their mix. And maybe they might have some other items that we might either want to include in ours.
So would the bulletin board policy actually be posted to the two bulletin boards?
That's what I'm
So that-
hoping. Mhm.
So that people can just see right off, and
Yeah.
it's easy enough for them to just take a quick picture with their cell phone
Yeah.
that they can review later
Yeah.
if they have any questions, to as like a little checklist to make sure that can go on. But with being the public library, I think community would be East Long Meadow,
Right.
not so much
Musicals in
other
Connecticut.
areas. Yeah. I mean, I would attend them, and I have.
Right.
So would you exclude Long Meadow?
That would be a discussion for all of you.
Well, that would, we would all have to agree on something.
You might do a deal with them where we post our stuff on your boards and we'll post your stuff on ours.
But then how
It's
far
true.
out
Well-
do you want to go? Do we go to Palmer?
But Long Meadow and East Long Meadow share the same
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
heritage, sort of,
Well, food for thought. That's what my mom would say. She'd say, food for thought, think about it, and in a month's time, this will be brought,
Something to ponder.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay?
Very good.
Great. Thank you.
The
Okay.
next item is the strategic plan update. Okay.
And so, here, I included in your packets, in case any of you did not have a copy of our first year action plan. And so, every year by December of that year, I am required to file an update of our strategic plan called an action plan with the Board of Library Commissioners. So this plan covers this upcoming fiscal year. So we are already making great strides and progress in the sense that we have the summer hours. We have much more increased participation with other town departments. And we can always try again for the teen services librarian in this upcoming because I'll start preparing the budget in January. So that would still be something we can try for in fiscal 19 and see if we make any headway on that or not. And there are no penalties
Okay.
for not meeting these goals. These are meant to be a framework that was created through staff, through me, through a committee that Diane and the friends were involved in, but it's mostly based on what does your community want from the library? What is going to make your community the best it can be for the livelihood of everyone? And that's what these goals were based on. It's to turn the focus of the library from internal to external, so that we're soliciting comments, surveys, and et cetera, like we did last summer. That's what helped lead us towards making summer hours on Saturday a priority, because that was what the community that was the number one most requested change in our services in the survey that we put out.
How did you put out the survey?
We had it online. We had print copies that were distributed. We also had print copies in the library. We sent out a constant contact email blast. I forwarded it to all other town departments so they could email it to their staff as well.
Yeah, I filled that out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good.
So if anybody has any questions about these, please feel free to ask.
Well, I guess those are the categories that kind of the trustees are responsible for watching over, shall we say. But there's still a couple other ones that are on our first year action plan. So, Layla, if you wouldn't mind going over those two.
Sure.
too.
So the other two goals that are more directed towards myself and staff are, the first one we're calling Improve the User Experience, and that is a redesign of the library website to better incorporate Americans with Disabilities Act visual standards, and just to update the library's web presence. It hasn't been updated in quite some time. Make it easier to navigate, more user-friendly, and really highlight our digital collections. And so in the fall and into the winter, I'll be working with Sharon, who currently runs our website, to update our web presence.
Okay.
Then the other one that mostly involves myself and staff is Goal 4, Stimulate Imagination, Creativity, and Innovation. And with that, we're looking to explore a lending library of things that would support community exploration and experimentation. The telescope, for example, that the Friends sponsored, is a great example of that, where it's something that would be maybe a little non-traditional for the library to lend out, but can really introduce a young person or an adult, everyone's welcome to borrow the telescope, can introduce someone to the possibility of STEM-related projects that they can conduct at home and in their own backyard.
How is the lawn games thing going? Are people renting them?
Yeah, they're that's another sponsored by the Friends. And they are checked out pretty regularly. Right now it's kind of winding down. People are getting back to school. But yeah, we have pretty strong circulation of those as
So
well.
will that stuff be stored in the basement somewhere and then brought
We don't
back
have
out
a
next
basement.
summer? No.
We last year we
is right
stored
here.
them at Melanie's house.
Oh.
Yeah, we don't have a basement.
Okay.
You're welcome.
She doesn't charge you for rent.
Thank you, Melanie, for storing.
Yeah,
games.
it's easy. It's simple. You know, it's not that bulky.
Right.
You know, it's manageable.
Yeah.
It's manageable. I don't hear any complaints at home, so I guess I'm safe.
I think you can also rent them from the DPW.
You can?
I think so.
I didn't know that.
Sports equipment.
Sports equipment?
I think so.
Wow.
Like-
I'll write
Look
that
at
one down.
Yeah, like.
I didn't know that.
Did you? I didn't know that either. She said she
You
did.
used to be able to.
Okay.
I don't know if it's, still available.
Mm-hmm.
But if you wanted a volleyball net and
Sure.
volleyball, for a party during the weekend.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
So I just checked. Maybe they've
Maybe
discontinued too.
either that or maybe it's through the rec department too.
Maybe.
Yes.
You know? So, That's worth looking into. Thanks, Ginny. So,
Are there library programs that you'd like to have, but there's no space or no room, so you don't do them?
Well, a makerspace would be ideal in that we could have things like a 3D printer, a laser cutter, some of the more high-tech, hands-on type programs, but we just don't have the space for that. But most of the time, the community room is adequate for our programming needs. But yeah, the makerspace issue, because it does have more, you need certain types of ventilation requirements, you need different types of training for the staff. But that's really the only thing I can think of. Most of the time, the community room is adequate, and this room as well. And the activity room in the children's.
I'm just wondering if there's some rooms in any nearby buildings that you could expand to for different programs.
Oh, I don't know.
There might be some empty room in one of these buildings around here that nobody uses. I don't know. I was just thinking that also that, the senior center has lots of different programs, but if you needed something, you could probably have a library program over there.
Yeah, Lindsay does work with Alicia at the senior center fairly often. She just participated, and they were calling it a safety review panel. So Lindsay represented the library by going there and speaking with seniors about internet safety and changing your password, ensuring that you're using HTTPS.
Okay.
anything else? Anything else on this one? On this category? No, everybody feels comfortable that we've addressed everything? So, okay. So, old businesses next, which Layla kind of discussed earlier, but fines, changes at Palmer Public Library. Next item.
Yeah, so Diane emailed this to me, and it's just an example of our neighbor libraries are all evaluating their fines and fees, and Palmer has a new fine policy that they have no fines for kids and teens. So just another example of how we're continuing to keep the library up to date and fresh in our approaches to customer service.
Yes.
Although I was surprised to see they still have VHS tapes.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hey, they need some more. I got a whole bunch of them.
I know, now I'll know where to refer people who try to donate them to us.
So perhaps, if we wanted to look at the fines, once again, maybe a few months down the line, this is another item we can take a look at.
And use as an example.
That's an example.
Of what, yeah.
And this was a question I had with regards to it, and there is no answer. It was just as far as age. And it's like no fines for kids and teens. Well, is that going to create some issue?
So the way that Palmer has addressed this
Okay, good.
is that it's not the borrower, it's the item in the collection.
Okay.
So anything that would be cataloged under juvenile does not accrue fines. So it could, you could be an adult ESL, for example, English language learner, who is checking out materials that are meant for a lower level of reading so that you can bring yourself up to speed learning English. The item itself is what doesn't collect the fine, not the borrower. Does that make sense?
Yes. I like that. Better.
So it should actually, maybe for us, would be no fines. I'm just throwing this out there.
Right.
No fines for kids materials and teens materials.
Right.
Not for the
Got it.
individual person. For the materials itself that's being borrowed from the library.
How did you do when you asked for donations for food for the seniors?
Yeah, we it was very well received. We did it twice last year. We did one in April and one in September. And again, the community you ask and people will donate food for the food pantry. So that's also something we could do again. We could do a month free fines for foods program. Yeah.
Is the only way people find out about these things to come to the library and look at a notice on a wall?
No, it's on our website. It's on our Facebook and Twitter accounts. We also have an Instagram account.
It's usually in the reminder.
The reminder covers our events pretty often.
You do,
And
you do
LCAT
a
as
blast to, don't you do
Oh yeah,
an
we
email
have
blast
a
to?
constant contact, a newsletter. We have over 2,000 subscribers to that. So we try to advertise things through multiple venues.
The newsletter you subscribe to online
Mm-hmm.
off the website. Oh, I have to get that. I don't want to miss stuff. I've come to some good programs here.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Maybe this is something we might want to go back to, maybe, I don't know, in a couple of months or so.
Yeah, we can
you know?
review whenever
Yeah.
the board feels
But
needs
at
to
least,
come up for review
but
again.
at least we took care of as far as the fine, how much to charge,
Mhm.
because that was a
Right.
big issue.
And we've been hearing great appreciation for reducing the DVDs
Yeah.
from $1 to 10 cents. That's
Good.
been
Good.
very well received. I guess just what we would want to discuss now is how long do we want to try the fine-free Fridays?
Mhm.
Do we want to give it another month? Do we want to table it? Do we want to try? It's up to all of you.
How long were we doing that for?
Well,
Wasn't it 6
We initially
We
said
just-
6 months,
Okay,
and this is
right.
the second month.
August is the second month.
Right.
This
Yes.
August,
Right.
okay.
Mhm.
Is it causing major,
Disruption maybe?
well,
I have
issues
had-
at
the
the
front
counter?
A
You
cou-
know,
yeah.
on both sides of the counter
Yes,
here.
and a couple different staff members have approached me and said, could you please ask the trustees to evaluate?
Sooner
because-
than later?
Sooner than later, because it is just kind of an ongoing confusion.
Okay.
And now it's set up an expectation that every single Friday, all of their fines will be forgiven. And we can continue to try it and see if people will learn. Or we can just say, well, this didn't work for us at this time in our community, and instead do a food drive or something.
So it seems like we're trying things, but in the back of our heads, we're thinking of no fines. Is that correct?
No,
No.
those were some of the long discussions that we had, and the trustees did not want to move towards no fines at this time for East Long Meadow.
Okay.
But it's just ways to reduce barriers to access is one way to think about it. You know, like how can we make it as easy as possible for people to meet their educational and recreational needs, while at the same time ensuring that people return materials. So we're just kind of reducing the barriers to access. And the $1 a day for DVDs was based on, 30 years ago, DVDs were very rare. We had a very limited collection. Now we have books that are more valuable than DVDs. So
Right.
But at some point, you have to contact the person and say, please return it. Or,
Oh, they do.
Oh,
They
yeah,
receive
yeah,
multiple
yeah.
notices.
And an email and
Mm-hmm.
The process
communication is good.
hasn't changed at all
Right.
when a item is overdue. It's just we were trying to open a door, shall we say, so that we'll say somebody was on vacation that week, the book was due, they come
Yeah.
back from vacation,
Like a
and
grace
so
period.
they bring it in ASAP. So we're just trying to eliminate that barrier where they have to pay, for a 3-day fine or so forth.
But
So
at some point, if something's late enough, someone has to drop what they're normally doing and get after someone to return the book.
Well, it'll be switched to billed status. The item itself in the catalog will, once it's more than 4 weeks overdue, it'll automatically convert to it being considered lost, and the person will be billed for the replacement cost of that item.
So they'll get a letter in the mail saying, you owe us $35 or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that process has been in place for a while.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
still stands.
So, I don't know, do we want to put that on our next agenda so we can spend some time on that?
The fine-free Friday.
The fine-free
Sure.
Fridays, and Or perhaps another avenue to go to try to help knock down some of those barriers. And I'm just going to ask everybody if you still have some of the stuff you went over when we discussed this previously. If you wouldn't mind reviewing that again, or if you can pick up what other libraries are doing, in order to get their materials back and help their patrons at the same time. All right, so that's an item I'd like to review. Okay, and we have other business, and we usually look upon Melanie for the Friends.
Well, our next, as you know, we were off for the summer for the Friends meetings, and they'll resume again in September. So it'll be next month will be the next meeting, and after that, I'll have some updates for you. So none at this time.
All right, is there any other business that needs to be presented? If not, our next meeting is Wednesday, September 19th at 6 p.m. And motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Didn't think so. Okay.